Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Malicious Compliance. Our first post is by Real Salty Shellback. Cable company told me I don't have cable. This happened around the year 2000. I had just purchased a house and met the previous owners while they were moving out. They were really nice people, and we had a friendly conversation about the house. The previous owner mentioned that the cable bill was paid up until the end of the month, about 3 more weeks, and that he had already turned in his cable box, but the cable signal should still be active till the end of the month. I told him thanks, and we let him finish packing up. We moved in the following week, and when I hooked the cable to my TV, I got all the basic cable channels, which was all I was planning on getting anyway. Come the end of the month, I called the cable company and asked to sign up for basic cable. The sales representative told me that there was going to be a $100 hookup fee. I told them that the previous owner had left his account active and that I was literally watching cable as we speak, so there should not need to be a hookup fee because the cable was already hooked up. They just needed to start billing me for basic cable. The representative then clicked on her keyboard and told me that her data showed that the address I was at does not have cable, and that they will need to send out a crew to activate the signal. I told her that I was not paying $100 for a hookup fee and said, never mind, I don't want cable. I waited another month, still had cable, and called the cable company back to ask what it would cost to get basic cable. A different operator from before said it would cost something like $30 a month and a $100 hookup fee. I asked why the $100 hookup fee. She said that it was because my address does not currently have cable. I told her never mind, I don't want cable unless they waive the hookup fee. She said she was not authorized to waive the fee. I just thanked her and hung up. 4 years later, we still had cable, but we ended up moving out of state for work. Our next post is by Sad Puppy Eyes. I see your malicious compliance on me, so I will do one of my own on you. A while ago, I was in charge of training for a large organization. I mostly did the organizing. For a fictitious example, I might coordinate the Dean of Medicine at Yale to come in and give a speech to 200 employees. Our usual location was a large auditorium classroom, complete with podium and computer. The aforementioned dean might show up with a PowerPoint that he needed to run, etc. So I had my 2 admin assistants show up at 7:45 a.m. each morning to make sure whatever the room was running for whatever speaker, lecturer was there, as the usual start time was 8 a.m. Sometimes, as was bound to happen, computer issues arose. Not too often, maybe once or twice a month tops. Maybe the dean couldn't pull up his PowerPoint. So we'd call our IT guy, Gary, who was 2 offices away, and he'd come and fix the problem. Everyone was happy. Until Gary retired. His new replacement, Todd, didn't like the arrangement. Though his start time was 8 a.m., he'd often drift in at 8:10 a.m. or 8:15 a.m. This is not good when we're having a computer crisis at 8:02. Further, he hated walking into the office and immediately having a call waiting for him. He wanted to have his coffee, read his email, and ease his way into the workday. Can't blame him there. So, Todd decided that he would no longer attend our computer calls. He told me to have my admin assistants troubleshoot the problems since they were there anyways. He was pretty hardcore about this, until I pulled out the job description of my assistants, and nowhere did it say that computer repair fell under their workload. I then showed him his job description where it said that computer repair was. Enter malicious compliance on Todd's part. You want me to attend? Okay, then we do it by the books. No more calling me directly. You need to call the central helpline and have them open a user ticket. Then I'll attend. I pointed out the foolishness of this. It's 7:52 a.m. I have the Yale Dean of Medicine, and he can't work his PowerPoint. I need it fixed now. I can't spend 15 minutes waiting on hold for the next available help desk agent. Then 15 minutes explaining the problem to them, then have them open a ticket and send it to Todd. Then another 20 minutes before Todd responds to the ticket. We can't have 200 people sitting for 45 minutes waiting on Todd. Too bad, he said with a smirk. Those are the rules, or you could just have you admin ladies fix the problem. I tried one last-ditch effort to reason. When the CEO is going to give a speech and the computer shorts out, he doesn't have to wait 45 minutes. So obviously you can make exceptions. Common sense says this should be one too. Nope, Todd said. The CEO's staff do what's called a preemptive ticket. They submit it ahead of time and have me there on standby in case things do go wrong. So yes, even he has to do the ticket process. Okay, Todd. I see your malicious compliance and raise you one of my own. The next morning, I sat with coffee in hand and waited, smiling in anticipation. Sure enough, my door burst open with a furious Todd. What the F is this? He snarled, waving a printout. I had submitted preemptive tickets for every day for the next 3 months, requiring Todd to be at my training room at 7:45 a.m. every day, just in case there was a computer emergency. Even better, I had contacted his boss's boss and received authorization to change Todd's work schedule due to operational requirements, so he would now be required to work 7 to 3 instead of 8 to 4. Or you could just pick up the damn phone when I call and come over. We agreed that the ticket process would not be necessary and he would show up as needed. Our next post is by Civil Journey. I don't want to see these anymore. Me. No problem. I previously worked at a place where I was hourly but should have been salary. They later made me salary and had to work odd hours at times due to the demands of the job. Despite the extra time that I worked, I was still expected to be clocked in at 8 and to leave no earlier than 5, all while making sure I got as little overtime as possible because they didn't want to pay overtime. They also expected me to take lunch at a predetermined time, even though it conflicted with the nature of the work I did. Every time I clocked in late, clocked out early, or clocked out for lunch at the wrong time. This was the bulk of the issue. A report was generated from HR and sent to my supervisor. Despite my making the case that it was basically impossible to adhere to these requirements, my supervisor point-blank told me, "I don't want to see these anymore," in reference to the report they were waving around in the air about my comings and goings on the time clock. So I said, "Okay, I'll make sure you don't have to see them anymore." I then walked down to HR and informed them that my supervisor was tired of seeing these reports and no longer wanted to see them. I told them verbatim what I was told, and they accepted it without question, as I said it came straight from my supervisor. Surprisingly, they didn't double-check the request at all. They simply stopped sending the reports to my supervisor. To be fair, they were tired of sending the reports and knew the situation was not tenable. After that, things were great. My supervisor was happy and had always been happy with my work. Many months down the road, I spoke with one of my salaried coworkers about it when they remarked that our supervisor hadn't been griping about the reports in a while. So I told them what had transpired. They remarked, "I don't think that's what they meant when they said that. Ultimately, I don't know how they actually meant it. All I know is that I fixed the issue by doing exactly what they said, and everyone was happy after that." Our next post is by Anna. Karen wants her breakfast. I work at a hotel. I'm on the graveyard shift, and we have a continental breakfast from 6 to 9, and my shift ends at 7, so I'm in charge of setting up the breakfast. It's not a big deal. It's a smallish hotel and a small breakfast, but we do have waffles and a couple of waffle makers. Basically, guests come in, they get their batter out of a dispenser and make their waffles so they're fresh and hot. We have 2 seasons where I live, winter and construction season, and we get work crews that stay at the hotel on the boss's dime and then go out for whatever job they're working on, and we very frequently get this one crew of guys. They're great guys, they're polite, and they don't leave the breakfast room a mess, but their shifts start super early in the morning. We also get hunters who are in and out before 6, so I usually have everything set up by 5:30 for them. I say usually because I'm only human. Sometimes I'm running late, it happens, but I'm never more than 5 minutes after 6. The workers and the hunters are super chill about it, they get it, and don't complain about waiting a couple of extra minutes. I also feel the need to add that the foreman is amongst them, so he's eating when they are. So one day I'm running a little late. I got caught up with what I was doing and kinda lost track of time. So I was rushing to get everything set up while the guys are patiently waiting in the lobby. In enters Karen, who sees the time, sees the breakfast isn't ready, and decides to yell at me for it, saying that the sign says breakfast is from 6 to 9 and should be started exactly at 6. I tried to keep working while talking to her so I could get the breakfast ready, but she decided that was rude. So I had to stop what I was doing and stand there with her yelling at me until she ran out of breath and I could finish setting up. Karen complains to the manager. I get a verbal warning that I have to have breakfast open by 6, as I was about 15 minutes behind because Karen was yelling at me when I would have been less than 4 if she'd let me finish. Well, Karen was a stayover, and she was in the next day before 6. The manager refunded part of her stay under guest satisfaction, and I think she was hoping to find me doing something wrong so she could get another refund, but I was on my game and had everything set up by 5:30 like usual. She came in before the workers and saw me sitting at the front desk and sneered about me being lazy when I should be setting up breakfast. I told her the breakfast was already ready to go as the construction workers are entering, but I stand and walk over to block the doorway to the breakfast room and told them that I couldn't let them in because the manager said I had to start the breakfast at exactly 6 o'clock, so I couldn't let them back until then. And as I'm saying this, I'm looking directly at Karen. Slowly heads turn and Karen goes red and mutters something about coming back later and leaves, so I let the guys back. They said it was funny, and like I said, the workers have had to wait a little after 6 before with no problem, and the foreman was there. To be clear, if I thought this stunt was going to cost them their breakfast, I never would have done it, but I knew that wasn't going to be a problem. I didn't see Karen again, so either she didn't come back or she returned after I left, but either way, I didn't hear another word from the manager about it. You want your breakfast at 6, you're gonna get your breakfast at 6. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.